The first oil well in the world was drilled in Pennsylvania in 1859. Mr. Bartos, on your website, you support American energy independence. Ambassador Sands, you want to be the energy senator from Pennsylvania. While there is a desire for cheap oil and natural gas, there's also a concern for the environment. Would you support subsidies for green energy development? Ambassador Sands.
You know, it's a loaded question. First of all, I like the 300-year on-ramp to green energy because we know with American innovation that our natural gas here in Pennsylvania is going to be able to power our country for our economic and national security. I'm calling to go back to energy dominance so that we have enough for our country. We don't need to be buying energy from places like Russia, Venezuela, and like Joe Biden's radical administration suggested, Iran. That's blood energy. Instead, we can sell some of our extra energy to our allies and partners in Europe so they don't need to buy Russian gas. We know that we have the capability to do it here in the United States. I'll support all kinds of energy. I am all about energy because we need inexpensive energy. When you're filling your gas tank at the gas station, I want you to think of Carla Sands for the Senate because I'm going to bring that price down. I'll be your energy senator, and I will fight for you in Washington.
Mr. Bartos.
If we're to have healthy main streets across all 67 counties, the number one thing we can do is unlock Pennsylvania's bounty of God-given energy right under our feet. We're here in Western Pennsylvania. You all know, as you drive around the roads here in Western PA, how important energy is to everything else. We were in Beaver County just last night. That cracker plant, a $7 billion investment right in Beaver County, is a down payment on the future of Pennsylvania's not only energy industry, but industry in general. We should have 5 of those across the Commonwealth, downstream across all 67 counties. We're seeing in Luzerne County. Tomorrow, the Biden administration can do something. If the president had the guts, instead of declaring war on energy, he could combat inflation and get our energy industry moving again by signing some executive orders. LNG should be shipped till we get the pipelines in, until we get the processing plant there. We need to ship those on rails. The president could do that. The president tomorrow could sign an executive order that frees up exploration, way more than he has. The president tomorrow could loosen regulations on permitting. We need a senator in Washington fighting for our energy here in Pennsylvania.
Thank you. KDKA News anchor Rick Dayton has our next question.
We have danced around this a little bit, but let's drill down on it right now. Pennsylvania, like many states, faces a tremendous number of unfunded liabilities, things like pensions for teachers and state police. So for Mr. McCormick and for Dr. Oz, please, if elected to the U.S. Senate, what are you going to do in Washington to help states like ours with these significant financial burdens? Dr. Oz, please, lead the way.
Well, in this case, we're talking about fraud, abuse, and waste. 20% of property taxes in Pennsylvania are linked to unfunded liabilities from the pension system. And I had an opportunity to deal this week with several representatives from the Property Tax Coalition. Several members of the representatives in Harrisburg were also involved. It's stunning. And I just want to pick up on what Jeff Bartos was saying earlier about David McCormick. Bridgewater, his company, was able to provide services to the pension plan for 10 years. Dave was CEO of the company throughout this period. If you look at the returns, they were abnormally low, and yet we paid $600 million plus, and now we're stuck in fees. Now we're stuck with a $500 million liability that all of us, everyone who can see me in Pennsylvania, is paying in their property taxes money back for this. We don't have transparency into why the property taxes increase. They're theoretically linked to schools, but they slip in these kinds of extra expenses, and Dave McCormick cannot serve as senator. It's disqualifying. If he did that to us before he was elected, before he even moved here, he was making money off us.
Mr. McCormick.
Well, I think to go to PCERS again, go to the public site, folks. You're hearing a lot of misleading information. Not a single pensioner ever lost a dollar, and what the pensioners bought was consistent. What they got was consistent with what they asked for, which was an insurance policy. So the people of Pennsylvania, the PCERS, was well served. What we need in Pennsylvania are pro-growth economic policies. What we need nationally are pro-growth economic policies. We need to lower taxes. We need a governor and a senator that actually understand how to make the economy work. We need to unlock the energy sector. That's a combination of partnership between the senator and the governor, because we need to streamline the pipeline approval process. We need to have an LNG port in Philadelphia. The path to success is unlocking the wonderful opportunity here in Pennsylvania. And you have to have somebody who understands how to do that, someone who understands how to create jobs, someone who understands how to cut through red tape, and someone who has a track record of actually doing it, which I have the most of all of that on this stage.
For our next questions, we're going to ask each of you a question based upon your credentials. We want to know how your experience would lead you as a U.S. Senator to approach each problem. We're not asking you to compare yourself with anyone else on the stage. This is about what you would do. You will each have 60 seconds. Question number 1 goes to Mr. Bartos. You work in real estate. COVID has devastated commercial real estate. As a commercial real estate lies empty, it also devastates local businesses such as restaurants. Some cities may never return to their previous occupancy rates. As a U.S. Senator, what would you do to revitalize the commercial real estate industry and the businesses it supports?
Well, as I mentioned once or twice tonight, I spent the pandemic saving small businesses and doing my level best to help Main Street stay on its feet while John Fetterman and the Democrats bulldozed it every chance they got. Now, if we're to have healthy Main Streets, if we're to have healthy communities, if we're to have a healthy Commonwealth, it starts with energy. We've talked about it a bunch tonight. As a United States Senator, my solemn duty to go down there on behalf of the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is to fight for our energy industry, to fight for our #1 industry, agriculture. We had 2 debates last week, 2.5 hours, not one question about agriculture. Our agriculture community is literally the foundation of this Commonwealth, and they don't get the respect they deserve. I'll be a senator, having spent 5 years traveling around this Commonwealth. I'll be a senator who not only knows and respects our agriculture, but will be a fighter for our family farms. Family farms are truly the backbone of our communities. I'll be fighting for them every day. Energy is important on that. I was down in Greene County a couple days ago. Passing a family farm from the 5th to the 6th generation requires those royalties.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Barnette, on your website you speak about homeschooling your children. You have concerns with private schools. As a senator, what would you do to make public schools more attractive to parents like yourself? President Reagan wanted to abolish the U.S. Education Department. Do you agree?
I do agree on abolishing the Education Department. I think they have served their moment of usefulness. Can you guys hear me in the back? Yeah, listen, and I do understand about not having the resources. I grew up on a pig farm in southern Alabama. I grew up below the bottom rung of the economic ladder. I grew up in a home with no insulation, no running water, an outhouse in the back, and a well on the side. But no one ever told me I was a victim. No one ever told me that because I'm black, because I'm a woman, because I'm poor, all the odds are against me. And as a result, I was able to claw my way from underneath the rock to create a different narrative for me and my children along with my husband. That is the kind of America we need, an America that gives hope to those who find themselves underneath the rock, an America that does not squeeze the middle class with all kinds of foolish and non-scientific mandates and regulations, and an America that allows businesses to be able to come into this country. My very presence when I walk into a room neutralizes more than half
Thank you, Ms.
of Democrats' talking points.
Thank you, Ms. Barnette.
Yes,
Dr. Oz, you are a heart surgeon. You have treated thousands of patients. Many drugs and generic components come from China. For example, 40% of the U.S. supply of heparin, a drug to prevent blood clotting, comes from China. Importing drugs from China is less expensive than producing them here. What would you do to make U.S. less dependent on China for these medicines?
China is an existential threat to our country. The reason we have to fix all the other problems we're talking about today on this stage is so that we can protect ourselves against China, who desires for us to fail. And I'll tell you why. They have a surveillance state giving rise to an economy that's viable, and we have a capitalistic economy coming out of democracy. The world wants what we have, but only a third of the world has access to it. So if we don't take back control of our national security from China, we're in trouble. And as a physician who went through COVID and struggled with you guys, there's no question we didn't have PPE. We were intimidated by the Chinese and told that we shouldn't make a big stink about what happened in Wuhan and where the virus came from, or they'd shut down our PPE. I'm talking about plastic masks and simple garb that we should have already on our shores. You mentioned pharmaceuticals, vital medications we could not get access to during the pandemic. We still don't have access to these raw materials because of China as well as India. So we must be serious about this. We have to onshore these businesses. It will also help build viable communities here in Pennsylvania.
Mr. McCormick, you worked as a Deputy National Security Advisor under President George W. Bush. Many believe that our actions in Afghanistan and our response to Ukraine have telegraphed weakness to the world. One country that is watching us is China. China has made its position on Taiwan clear, that it belongs to mainland China. If China should attack Taiwan, would you support sending our military to defend the island?
Well, as someone who's served in the military for almost a decade fighting communist ideology, someone who's served at the highest levels of government, negotiating toe-to-toe with China, someone who's done business globally, a small part of that business in China, just like President Trump, that gives me unique credentials on this particular thing. And no, we shouldn't televise what we're going to do. We should create a lot of lethal support for Taiwan, and we should create our own strength in that part of the world to be able to support what actions we need to take. But we need to create uncertainty, strategic uncertainty. And this is an area where I think Mehmet is absolutely compromised, because while I was serving Ronald Reagan in the U.S. military, Mehmet was in the Turkish military, and these issues of national security are going to be on the front porch of every U.S. senator going forward. And his connection to Turkey and the fact that he couldn't get a security clearance today is an issue that needs to be discussed in this campaign, and it's a fair issue for him to have to address.
Dr. Oz, 30 seconds.
This is a distraction. There is no issue about national security. And President Trump, despite David's earnest efforts to do everything he could to earn his endorsement, was unable to succeed. Instead, President Trump endorsed me, calling me America first. He knows what you should know, which is that I love this country. There is no compromise element here. I will serve this nation as our senator and do a wonderful job identifying all the issues going around the world, in part because I've traveled so much around the world. The show, for example, is in 100 countries. So I've been able to move around and identify opportunities.